Okay guys, I wanted to show you, I've shown you how to get your files ready for layout, and then actually how to get your file in the layout. So let's actually go ahead and see, what do you do when you're in layout. So go ahead and select your template and load that template. And so I've just brought in kind of the same house we were working in, and here my template is. So now let's go ahead and actually get this thing done. So what's nice is if you set up your template, you almost already have at least some of the viewports already done. You might need to just change a little bit. So I'm going to copy this, Command C, and then bring it over here in my title page, Command V. So what I want here is I want my ISO. Shape this up a little bit better. And then let's say, if I didn't want it this size, I could say not preserve scale. And then I could shrink it down and put it right there. So what's nice is, like example here, I could change my client just by going to the auto text, customize auto text, go to client and change, okay, who is my client's name? It's going to be Azad Lassiter Garage Project. Close, and then as you can see, this changes right here. So this is, typically on my front page, I kind of try to show what the project is. I might also do kind of like a scope of work right here. Scope of work, very basic, and just kind of say, hey, this is what we're working on. Say, okay, build 20 by 20 garage, and I would go into more detail and say, yeah, it's going to be framed out of this and blah blah blah. Next one would be your floor plan. Go ahead, kind of change things here, and as you notice in my template, I've already been set up to say, okay, floor plan. This is what I want here. I do want to change this. Say, okay, this is the floor plan, and what I should do is change that to either be auto text or to say floor plan. So come in here, go ahead. Typically, first thing I do is dimensions. Get your dimension tool and dimension this thing up. So 20 by 20. I think I already told you guys that. And then maybe I think we have an opening here, so maybe you would do this opening. 3-foot door, that makes sense. And then you could go ahead and use some labels and stuff like that and say, okay, door, or you could talk about these washers right here. Say, 3 by 3 washer, and just go in and detail your plan a little bit more. As far as elevations go, you can go in here. Typically, I like to display 2 elevations. When I had set this up initially, I wasn't doing that, and so like we say about your template, change your template. Like I haven't changed my template yet, so as you can see, I'm reworking here, which isn't great. So you can go ahead, open this up, and get us. Let's get the front elevation, and let's get the side elevation. Bam, that looks pretty good. And so once again, I would come in here, I would dimension this. Say, okay, how tall are these walls? They are, 8 foot. That makes sense. You could, dimension this door. You could dimension the foundation. That's a popular one. 1'6". And just slowly work on getting this plan on here. Once again, another label might be, a slab on grade. And then go ahead, moving on to your next plan, your section. This is so typically in your sections here, this is a really important one to really show a lot of detail. And I typically like to make this one as big as I can. Can I do a little bit bigger? Can I do the 1/2 inch? Yes, I can. So go ahead, form this one up. And see, as you can see here, this is where I typically do a lot more labeling and a lot more dimensioning. Might label this side. Can you say, hey, you already put your measurements here? You're right, I did. But now I can come in maybe on this side and say, okay, what type of rebar do I have in here? This is one, let's call it a number 5 rebar. And then I could do the same thing if I wanted to go option drag. This creates another one if you wanted to, or label something else here. Label the bottom plate and call this the bottom plate, treated bottom plate. And you could label everything. So the last one that I typically do is some details. And so one thing that could be good here is, let's say you really wanted to get detailed into like your wall section or your foundation. Go ahead and blow this up really big, 1 inch maybe, maybe go a little bit bigger than that, and focus in on one area of your plan. I can bring this into my plan, and now I can dimension it up and say, okay, this is typically where I would come in and put more details and say, treated 2 by 4, and then I would talk about this washer and say, okay, we've got this washer right here. What kind of washer? What kind of J-bolt is this? And then I could do it to this 2 by 4. It's a 2 by 4 by 8, or it's a pre-cut, or tell me whatever it is. And then, like I said, you can come in here, dimension everything. Dimension this guy, or maybe you've done it somewhere else. And you can dimension it. The last thing I want to note is that you can use kind of fill shapes and stuff like that right here. So typically what I'll do is, like, this didn't render exactly how I would have wanted it to. So I can grab like this right here, and then I can actually like add crushed stone, if you will. And just by turning the fill on, see if I'm doing this right. There it is. So now what I've added to my plan is, I've added, I don't know what it is. You tell me what it is. Let's go here and say, okay, this is crushed stone. So that was something I didn't even model, but as you can see very easily, I was able to, add this layer to my plan, and there are a ton of different fills that you can use. Yeah, here it is. This is what I typically do. Say it's crushed stone. Now I've added like this crushed stone, and that has a little bit more depth to my plan, more than what I just modeled. And so the last thing I want to touch on is, let's do a detail. Let's do another detail. Let's duplicate this page. And I actually don't even want any of this stuff. I just want to say, okay, I have some pre-made details of my own, and it's under, let's do the roofing ones. So I don't have too much for my roofing, but I could say, okay, I want this roofing detail out here. It's a little bit big, but I could scale it down right here and say, okay, I want this at 3/4. Boom. There's a detail that I'm really not doing any work for that. Here's another one that I typically bring in. You say, okay, how do I frame my walls? Well, I want you to frame your walls like this and like that. And so that's how I use Scrapbook, and then just link it correctly, and put in, what I do here is say, okay, what am I going to call this? I'm going to say, okay, this is, but this is plan. This is my B drawing here. And it's going to be a framing detail, or a, for this one I could say this is a rough opening detail. And so as you can see, I'm adding more information to my plan, but by using Scrapbook, it's really easy to do that, and I'm not I'm not really creating another drawing. I'm just using what is here on Scrapbook. So I'm going to go over Scrapbook in another video too, if you guys are more interested in that. But that's basically how I do it, is to, you know, how to take your model and put it into a plan so that someone can actually understand it and maybe be able to build it. So if you're looking for some other videos on how to use Scrapbook or how to set up your template, go ahead and check those out on our site as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
Thanks for watching our video. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can get updated on all our newest videos. Also, go ahead and click the links below so that you can see our social media profiles as well as our website.